Okay, so if you could just start by saying your name and position so we can get the just who you are.
Okay. My name is Doc Pearson. I'm a sergeant with the Evan Police Department, and I'm a police officer here for 15 years.
And why did you choose to become a law enforcement officer?
Well, if I can go back to, it's been a while, but when I went to college, it wasn't a dream of mine. I had different aspirations. I had a scholarship to play basketball, and I was in a different major that required a lot of lab time, and it was a conflict of schedules. And I had to change my major because of I had to stick with basketball because that was paying my way to college. So, and when I switched my major, I just kind of, did some soul searching and just decided to go into the criminal justice area. I wasn't certain if it was going to be, corrections or if it was, in law enforcement, but, through the times I became interested in being a law enforcement officer. So.
And then following on that, why did you choose to become a school resource officer?
It's just like anything you do. Once you get into the field that you're working with law enforcement, it's a broad area. There's different areas that you can kind of concentrate on. The first 6 years that I was a police officer, I worked night shifts. I worked with my share of DUIs. One of the things I really like to do is catch smugglers, and so I got really good at that. After you do it for a little while, you just kind of look in different areas. I changed shifts and came to day shift, and I dealt with some of the school's issues and stuff like that, and saw that being an SRO is a different type of policing. Where most of our job is law enforcement in the field, but when you enter the schools, it becomes more of an educational and counseling bit, because the goal is not to put kids in jails, is to deter them to do crime, and then also help them and be a model so that they can make the good decisions so that they can get through school. And so I just felt the interest in doing that, making a different change, in dealing with juveniles.
So what do you feel are some of the differences between working with juveniles versus adults?
What are the differences? Juveniles talk back more. To me, I think working with adults are a lot easier. Working with juveniles is a little bit more harder in a sense, because there's different laws that that protect children. There's more people involved. For example, if I'm dealing with an adult that committed a crime, it's generally me and that adult. But when you deal with a juvenile, it's gonna pull in the school administration and or the parents, which can often be a difficult time, because a lot of times the kids that are committing crimes is because they have a lack of parental supervision or guidance, and so in dealing with both entities often comes to struggle sometimes.
What problems are more prevalent among juveniles?
And drugs has always been on top of my list. It seems like it's getting worse, and I don't foresee it getting any better. But we do what we can do. We fight, and mentor and continue doing what we do, because that's all we got. But social media would be a close second. It's been, it's hard for kids in this generation to deal with everything that's on their plate, and social media being a whole new aspect to it. They're dealing with a lot of things that adults deal with and at an early age, so it becomes a difficult obstacle for them.
Are there any problems within the system you wish you could change?
Yeah, there would be, but it's always going to be a funding issue. I think my major chief complaint is that there is very little programs for juveniles that can get support in regards to, say, if a parent recognizes a kid that's under influence or is using a certain illegal substance, and has yet not, maybe got suspended from school, but has yet not been charged with a crime, you know, those avenues of getting that kid help, or those programs are not many. It seems like the kid has to commit a crime and be mandated by the courts to go to these programs, and that's not what we really want. We don't want a kid to get charged with a crime, and we'd rather have that program set up to where it's early intervention versus, you know, afterwards. And so if I had something to change, I would I would, you know, try to get more programs out there for parents to use for their kids that need direction, for sure.
Okay. And what is the most rewarding part of being a school resource officer?
There's several, you know, but you know, the part of the policing that most officers don't experience is just, you know, getting into these kids' lives. You know, I come to school, I go to all of them, but this is my main one that I'm assigned to. You know, you come to school and you interact with them. I mean, you create relationships. You know, you get that trust. You know, you're modeling for these kids sometimes when they're coming from broken and dysfunctional families. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just seeing the kids get through their adversity and obstacles throughout their life, and, you know, succeeding by, you know, graduating and moving on. So I think that would probably be the most rewarding part.
Okay.
On the flip side, what is the toughest part of being a school resource officer?
The kid giving up. Like I said, you know, you create relationships, and you kind of know what that kid's going through. You know, you offer what assistance you can, and a lot of times the cards are stacked against the kid, you know, because of, you know, a parent that's not doing their part, or a situation where, you know, it's just the kid's made too many bad choices and can't, you know, get above water.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times they give up because it's, you know, they're addicted to drug use, and it just becomes a downward spiral for them. You know, and it's sad to see that at an early age for these kids. And so that's probably the worst part.
Mm-hmm.
What are some success stories you have seen or had that you've been an SRO?
That's hard to just say, because I think every kid that graduates is somewhat of a success story. I'm not out of mainstream high school. This is an alternative school that I'm at, and so most kids that come here come for various reasons. If it's, you know, it's from a drug suspension, you know, pregnancies, or some family problems. A lot of times it's because of family problems, and so when they get here, they got a lot of things on their plate, and so for us to get them through school and graduate and overcome those things, I think is a success and all.
Mm-hmm. Not everybody can be a school resource officer,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously not all police officers can be a school resource officer. So what characteristics do you think you possess that other officers don't, that make you good for this position as a SRO?
It's an easy one: patience.
Mm-hmm.
Most officers do not want to be an SRO because it takes a lot of patience, especially with kids. You can't deal in a typical setting like you do in patrol than you do in a school. And so I think if that was the trait that I had, I would say that it's patience, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What is the process to become an SRO? Is there like a certification or additional training you have to go through? Or
So in our department, I'm not sure how other departments work, but it's called a specialty unit. And if you're in patrol, and the position comes open, it's an interviewed position, and the interviewees are staff from the Evan Police Department and also the school district. And so you just kind of sit and they ask you, it's like interviewing for a job in a sense. Once you obtain that position, then yes, we have extra training that we have to go to, which is called NASRO. It's just, you know, school police, and it kind of teaches how to create a lesson plan and you know, just different legal aspects, because it's different in a school than it would be like in patrol, you know, on the street. So yeah, we go to extra training as well.
And sorry to keep throwing these questions
No,
at
you're
you, but so Edmond is obviously more of a safer community than, say, other cities like Oklahoma City or Chicago or something. If you had the opportunity to be transferred to, hypothetically, one of those departments, would you take the opportunity or would you not, and why?
I would not. I know officers that work in those cities, and it's a stressful situation for them. And I kind of feel that Edmond, by stats, we are one of the safest cities per capita, but we have our mix, and it's a good mix because we deal with issues, and I like to call it we're proactive and not reactive. And so that's the best way to, in my opinion, to police, because if you're reactive, if reactive policing often causes stress on anybody, and you'll look into that burnout and other issues that come about that. So I think there's a good balance here. That's why I would probably stay.
Do you see yourself as a school resource officer in the future?
I am a full school resource officer. I've been a school resource officer for 9 years now.
So you plan on staying it for your full career then?
Probably not. I mean, I got about another 10 more years before I can retire, and I'll probably stay for a few more years for sure. My son's a freshman, so I'd like to keep an eye on him until he gets out for sure.
Do you find that, do you have a better relationship with, different ethnicity students because you aren't just the stereotypical, white? Are you, more accepted? Do you face as much
It's really
adversity?
weird, because each school has kind of, depending on where they're at, by location, they may have a certain ethnicity group more than others. I would like to say that I'm fair across the board. Regardless of what race you are, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm half white, half black, and just like anything, when you deal with kids and then their bad choices, a lot of times they have a card, and they play their last card, and they'll pull out that racism card, And I've been called, racist by black people and white people. It's just that I think if you offer consistency to whomever you're dealing with, a lot of kids come to me regardless of what race they are, and I can create a relationship with them and get in their lives, and and what's unique about Boulevard, it seems like we get a mix of all of them, and I like it here because we all get along. There's really no separation, just because we're really small, for one, and it's a good climate for those individuals.
So have you been a school resource officer here your entire career, or have you worked at other schools?
I've been assigned here throughout my 9 years. I've been assigned at the high schools as well because of transfers and promotions. Some officers move up, and so the need at the high schools are much greater than here because I'm dealing with 150 here versus if the officer at Edmond North leaves or gets promoted, you're dealing with 2,500 kids, and so I typically, until that spot's filled again, I kind of work both areas, but predominantly at that school because of the need there.
Did you grow up in Oklahoma? Are you from a different state?
Yeah, I was born in Oklahoma City and lived here most of my childhood. I lived in Colorado for maybe 2-3 years. Came back. I lived in a small town named Craig, Oklahoma. It was over by Shawnee. That's where I graduated from, and I went to college in Ada, East Central. So that's where I got my degree. And so went in the military for a few years and got out and worked corrections. I was actually a case manager, and then got promoted to a unit manager, and that was very interesting. It was a medium security women's facility. It was a private facility, and then we housed 4 jurisdictions, so the workload was ridiculous, and decided I wanted to do something different, and became a police officer, and it's a lot less stressful. So, and landed me here in Edmond, Oklahoma. I've been an officer here for 15 years.